Live from New York.
Wow.
I usually go coffee, and I know this is a popular drink, so don't explode at me. But I haven't had one in a long time. It's unbelievable, and people need to get into it. Coca-Cola. Wow. Have you had some of this stuff? Out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow, this is the nicest thing you've ever done.
For that. On ice.
I mean, that's delicious.
Unbelievable.
And I don't drink soda, but that's delicious.
It's unbelievable.
About once a month, maybe once every 5 weeks, I need a Coke.
Oh, wow. So good.
And it's great.
It's a little company out of Atlanta.
Yeah, we saw you do the sniffing songs, Brew. We know.
Start with the undefeated Eagles. Winning on the ground. Hurts was asked about the passing attack, or lack thereof. Perfect response, as always. Hurts this season, Brew, 28th in pass attempts, only 45. Only 270 some odd air yards, and only 5 attempts of 20 more yards. It's tied for 22nd. Can the Eagles keep winning with this strategy?
Haven't we been here before?
I have no idea.
We're really going here again?
This is a new level.
They won a Super Bowl doing this.
Not quite like this.
Hold on. Against Green Bay, he threw for 131 yards in their first playoff win.
Yes.
The week after, against the Rams, he throws for 128, where Matthew Stafford was great. Now, in the next couple games he played, he had to throw more. They beat Baltimore last year with him throwing for less than 120 yards. Now, I get it. They're going to improve. He's not going to average 101 yards passing a game, but they just beat the Chiefs with them throwing it this way. Look, you want them to throw it down the field more because he has been dinking and dunking more than ever. But throw it down the field more, especially they got the weapons to do it. And also you want to get Saquon going more. Yes. Saquon's a big difference. He's averaging less than 4 yards a carry. Teams are stacking the box. I think if they throw downfield more, that'll open things up for the run game. And I don't expect them to stay this way. But remember, 2023, was it? The year of the supernatural funk.
Yes.
This was what the whole thing was about. Like when they started off 10-1, they kept winning. They were beating everybody, but it was always like, they don't look that good.
Right, but that doesn't worry you?
And they got into it, and they were talking about, I just think it became this huge weight on their shoulders. Like, yeah, we're winning, but we're not playing well. Mm-hmm. And I think they should, and I think they probably want to make sure that doesn't happen again. I just don't think they should fall in, like the Chiefs last year. Chiefs did not fall into this trap of we're not playing well, but we keep winning. You know what I mean? Sure. We might have been saying it, but they were just trugging along like, look, we're winning games. If you talk about that, do it within yourselves, among yourselves, but I don't think they should play into it with the media or make it become a big national story that, yeah, we're 10-0, but we're not playing well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm looking at it more as in 10-0, obviously, it's a high now, but whatever.
8-2,
right, even 7-3 is great through 10 games.
Right.
The question is, can they get there playing this way? And the reason my answer to that would be no is because they're not getting they're getting less from the passing game this year than they were last year, while also having a worse defense and getting less from the running game. So last year you had Saquon on the precipice of having the most prolific running season of all time. And, depending on which metric you like, either the best or certainly a top 3 defense in football. I don't know that they have I don't think they are going to end up having that defense this year, and thus far they haven't gotten close to that from Saquon this year. Meanwhile, the numbers are jarring. Like you showed 20-plus yard passes. They're throwing the ball less than anyone in the league by a lot. There's only 5 teams at 50% or lower. They're at 40. And Colin had a graphic that they have more tush-push attempts this year than 10-yard pass attempts.
Yeah, so this was in The Athletic. There's been 249 pass attempts on throws between 10 and 20 air yards. Jalen Hurts hasn't taken one.
Correct.
From Brooks.
So,
But don't you kind of feel, I hear all that,
Yeah.
but don't
Not
you
one?
feel like they're kind of just, like, I expect a lot of improvement. I expect Saquon to improve. I expect the defense to improve. You know, I'm just thinking they're going to get playing a lot better, and the passing game.
So, okay, I do expect Saquon to improve but I also wonder, is part of what could hurt Saquon is until the Eagles show we're willing to throw one intermediate pass, he's easier to defend.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of the reverse of what we say about, you know, what Lamar opens up for Derrick Henry or vice versa. And I don't know how much the defense. I think the defense will improve. I don't think the defense has the personnel.
I mean, look, they held the Chiefs to 17.
Sure.
Dallas. I mean, we saw what they did last week. Now Dallas was marching on them in the first half. Second half, they obviously. But
the other thing that I find odd, and this to me is, I don't even know if I want to call it a criticism of Jalen Hurts, but an observation from week 1 in particular. Week 1. We all said he was the best player for the Eagles offensively that game, and that he did a great job scrambling. We also have been saying Patrick this year, most of his value has come scrambling, right? I am seeing Patrick scramble, and what I'm telling you guys, and I think you guys believe me, and I agree, like I believe, is nobody's getting open. Nobody can get open. He's having to do it. In that Dallas game, it is shocking to me, especially after seeing what a hard time Dallas had covering Malik Neighbors and the other Giants, that
two great receivers,
that you have those guys. Are those guys really not? Devontae and A.J. Brown are just not getting open. A.J. told us that wasn't the case. But that's, and so it was, the scramble is typically, a quarterback-driven run is one thing. Scramble usually, I don't want to say is a last resort, but it's obviously not.
It's
the
kind of a weapon for Jalen, though.
No, 100%, but it's not. A scramble is never your plan.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's the part to me that I find odd. And the stat you had, which is they've thrown 5 passes longer than 10 yards all year. And they're all very long. It's the completion to Dotson, the completion to Devontae in the Chiefs game. I can name them. The incompletion when Devontae fell on his tailbone. The incompletion we showed, and one other one I'm forgetting about. That's all of it. And that's really odd.
I agree with you that they have to throw it downfield more and even throw it more, period. But my biggest worry with them, I just feel like that's going to happen.
Okay.
I can't imagine them playing this way the whole season. My biggest fear, though, when I said this after the first game of the season, Jalen taking these shots.
Yeah.
Because he looked unusually fresh in game 1 with his running. And even in that game, in the second half, he didn't look quite as fresh. And so if he keeps taking some of these hits and he's not as fresh running the football, then I think that's a problem for the Eagles. So
the other part of it, I wonder if it's a first half stat. And here's something, and we've talked about how often the Eagles are ahead and just decide to run the ball and drain the clock. Snaps trailing in the second half, like sort of classic, we got to throw the ball situations. Baker has taken 275 snaps trailing in the second half. Jaden 255. And then down at the bottom, Jalen Hurts has only had 28 snaps trailing in the second half. I found it to be a wild stat. So if he is going to throw the ball, maybe it's in the first half. Or they're like, we can also get the lead running the ball and then just keep running.
So that to me is, I have a kind of a twofold concern here, and I'm not trying to concern troll. I think this is legitimate. I'm not the last year. I think your take that criticizing Jalen was wildly unfair because they were blasting people. They were scoring a ton of points and blasting people. So why would you change anything up offensively? This year, these games have been in the balance, right? And they're not scoring huge points. So, that's the first legitimate concern. The second legitimate concern from that graphic is, man, oh man, we got to think at some point you're going to be trailing and have to open it up. And if you have not gotten some reps of opening it up beforehand, now last year they didn't have to. You know what I mean? That's from you just showed it. From week 6 on, they never had to. And they were never trailing, and Saquon was ripping off these huge runs. I don't think it is going to be as smooth sailing starting maybe this weekend, where I don't think the Eagles have the personnel to cover Puka and Devontae.
Oh. You know what I mean? I think we know that if they have to air it out, Jalen can do it. And I agree. Like, obviously, the new coordinator.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things.
Like, I don't like all bombs or short passes, so they do have to get some more immediate.
Jalen's the only starting quarterback without a passing touchdown. Yeah, a little weird. Check in on the Chiefs practice, where there was some good news and some curious news. We'll start with the good news. Xavier Worthy listed as limited, but seems to be getting better. Now, one curious bit of news here on the Chiefs injury report in yellow there, Patrick Mahomes, right wrist.
Full participant.
Full participant?
But, yeah.
But something. So do you want to comment on that or talk about the return of
listen,
Xavier Worthy?
Fake news hat not coming on. I don't have anything to report or any intel on that other than, please God, let him be okay. all I can report is Patrick Mahomes' right wrist is not something that I want to read on any injury report the rest of my life. Yeah. And so that is, but listen, glass half full side of it is, I think Tom Brady was listed, I think either with a hamstring or a knee, on like a full participant hamstring, or I can't remember, like every injury report for a decade straight. Now, that also was kind of the Patriot way, gamesmanship. He wasn't on the injury report a week ago, so that is new. As far as Xavier fixing all of the Chiefs' problems, he will fix some of the Chiefs' problems, and I hope Xavier has spent his time not only rehabbing, but watching a ton of Reggie Wayne film, because I want Xavier to catch the ball and get down. I am, like Reggie Wayne was one of the best ever at, if it is not smooth sailing to the end zone, we are getting down and getting on to the next play. And I think at least early on, that's going to be very important as his shoulder continues to strengthen. Xavier is not going to fix the fact that the Chiefs running backs right now can only run to darkness and not daylight. And this stat right here is the worst stat in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, 13 rushes, 123 yards, better than Drake May last year, KW, on rushes. I mean, up with Mike Vick and Randall Cunningham, 9.5 yards per carry. Brew, the Chiefs this year are top 5 in explosive plays in the NFL, which is 20-yard passes or 10-yard runs, because they have 9 10-yard runs. It's all Patrick. Yep. Literally, like that right-hand column does not get fixed by Xavier Worthy. And I also think because of the injury, they are going to be less apt to use Xavier in a way they liked last year, and that they used him in the second play of their season this year, which is an end-around run. And so, no, certainly defense, obviously Worthy's going to have no impact on. And offense, he is going to help. But the running game has to at least have a pulse for the Chiefs' passing offense to fully open up.
Well, the run game is going to be what it is. Like, neither one of them, especially if Pacheco, if this who he is now after the injury, it's not going to be great. You just hope it can be adequate. But for him, it depends on how they use him. Like, he could help if they use him like they have in the past, he could help the run game on, like you said, end-around sweeps, jet sweeps, things like that, which he has done damage on. And he also can run after the catch. But if he's going to be getting down. So a lot of it depends on, are they cautious with him because of the shoulder, or do they just play him the normal way? If they play him the normal way and he's capable of that, he helps a lot. You're right. Yeah. Even the defense hasn't been as good as last year.
Sure,
it's early, of course, but their scoring defense is the lowest ranked it's been in the league since Mahomes was a rookie. So the defense has to step it up too, the run game obviously. But if he can if he steps in there and plays like he's not injured, that is huge. They lost by 6 points to the Chargers. They lost by 3 points to the Eagles. He might make a difference. They could be 2-0. Real talk. They could be 2-0 with Xavier Worthy because he stretches the field. He can run, like we said, the jet sweeps. Remember what he became.
Yeah.
His last 3 regular season games, he was averaging 7 catches per game. In the playoffs, he led the playoffs with 19 receptions, almost 300 yards. I get in the Super Bowl, a little bit was after the game was over, but still, the first 2 playoff games, he was great. So he was en route to becoming somewhat of an elite receiver.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of flashing red lights about the Chiefs that I'm personally worried about, not only because I'm beloved in Kansas City.
Of course, have your own day.
But
Well,
it would be
it could-
terrible for you. You would be in an all-time bad mood. All-timer.
I'm never in a bad mood.
He's never been on TV with the Chiefs being bad.
That might be true.
Is that 2017?
We'd have to
Well, I
pull
mean,
some
Mahomes'
local
rookie
radio
year was my
tape.
first year on TV, but he didn't play that year. But
Oh,
they
his
weren't
rookie,
bad.
right, his
But they
rookie.
weren't bad.
Right,
They were
he's still
they
rookie.
were
We're
a
like,
playoff
oh, they
team.
can't run the ball. Xavier Worthy is injured, so like we can have him in a limited way, but hopefully he can stretch the field.
Well,
but
I don't
Brady
know
doesn't
how
get
they're
time.
gonna use him.
Mahomes
scary
pops
are
up
the
on the
injuries.
injury report.
Yeah, that
the
would
defense
derail.
is not playing, spectacular.
But if Mahomes
There's just a lot of lights
Mahomes is
flashing, watch
fine,
out.
If he's fine and Worthy can be used 95% of what he is.
So listen,
then I think they'll be fine.
my guess is I do not think Worthy is going to be limited in any real capacity from this injury. The concern is, will he re-injure it? So like this is like a lower body injury limits what you can do. This type of injury, from all my reading and understanding, is he will be the old Xavier, the normal Xavier Worthy, but the risk of re-injury on something like this
Crazy high,
is
and it doesn't feel out of bounds.
A small guy like that, he can
right.
take a
It's set.
shot.
What I read is it's like a 50-50 proposition as far as him getting through the rest of the year. And what the doctors seemingly are universal on is the surgery he avoided. If it pops out again, he has to have.
Yep.
And so that's where I'm saying
That's just such
give
a
up
risk.
the extra yards. You know what I mean? As he gets stronger. But I agree with Brew in this regard. I truly believe that the Chiefs would have had a real shot at beating the Chargers if Xavier had gotten hurt in practice.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Forget him being out there. I'm saying that the fact that he was I know this, he was the focal point of that game's offensive game plan, and losing him immediately, threw it off entirely. Yep. And the Eagles game, as annoying as it was to lose and frustrating, that game wasn't a game that made me feel worse about Kansas City.
No.
You know what I mean? It felt like it maybe
Right
made
there in
me
the
feel a little
balance.
better about the Eagles. It didn't make me feel because I was so down on the Chiefs' defense after week 1. I thought the defense handled itself quite well in week 2. But yeah, they are now in hold on mode until Rasheed gets back, and with the hope being that week 7, for the first time ever, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and Rasheed Rice, which was supposed to be the Chiefs' receiving core at the start of last year, can play its first snap together. Those 3 guys have played 0 snaps together ever. The hope is week 7 that finally happens.
KC in New York Sunday night. Aaron Rodgers headed to New England and looking to bounce back from last week's loss against the Seahawks. Brew, can Rodgers afford back-to-back losses here?
No. The season, this would bring such a damper on the season if he loses this game.
Why?
Because their early schedule
Was supposed to be the easy part.
Like, even after this, look at this. They were supposed to, Seattle, look, they're a decent team. New England's beatable. Minnesota without even with J.J. McCarthy, but their quarterback position's bad, so they're beatable. Is that Cleveland?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, Cleveland, and then the Bengals now without Burrow. Like, you're supposed to start, they still have a chance, 5-1, 4-2 at the worst, if you're going to be a legitimate
totally
playoff
agree with
team,
that.
right? And so if you lose this game, and New England's not a bad team, but then any team could beat you. You could lose to anybody. And so now, whereas a week ago Pittsburgh was thinking really excited in that locker room about the possibilities, they lose to New England. You're 1-2. I just think the morale would drop immensely, and it would be terrible for their season.
Yeah, we talk a lot about, week 1 can be a liar and we don't know what we're seeing, all these things. I think there's a good chance that if in week 11 a team beats the Jets 34-32 on a 60-yard field goal near the end of the game, we're going to say, what an awful win. You know what I mean? Like, that is, you let the Jets score 30, you needed and I think it was a 60-yarder by Boswell. I don't remember. I know that Tomlin was like, we have a serial killer as our kicker. So in my opinion, week 1 was not good for the Steelers because they got what I believed and still believe to be unsustainable quarterback play, and the defense looked like a mess. Week 2, the defense still looked like a mess, and you got much closer to the quarterback play I expect. Week 3, and again, I picked the Patriots to go to the playoffs. I don't think they're a bad team necessarily. Again, it's very early. I do think that a Steelers' path to the postseason likely involves the Patriots not getting in. You know what I mean?
Well,
or having the tiebreaker.
You could battle with
exactly. That's what I mean. A tiebreaker with them. And so Aaron Rodgers, just have a normal press conference challenge, please. Like the whole, I don't believe in the binary nature of the NFL. Like, buddy, if anything in life is fairly binary, it's pro sports. It's like there's a winner and there's a loser.
He's trying to dress it up, but he's like,
I understand.
We don't need to hear that, because at the end of the day, all that matters is winning.
Right. I mean, it is truly.
And you know that as well as anybody.
I know, but he's saying, like, if we played well and lost,
but that's not good.
That would bode well for us.
I disagree. I think that is true for. I think terrible teams and great teams, it's process over results. You know what? If that what I mean. If that makes sense. Like a great team, Baltimore. There's a lot of good that they can take from week 1, some bad as well. But they're like, we're going to be okay. You know what I mean? And for the Jets. There was probably a lot, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, there's a lot of good to build on week 1. They weren't able to do it. For a team that's like fighting for, then it's just win ugly. And here is to me the concerning number that I tried to give you guys on Monday, but I didn't have it and I butchered it. Rodgers with time to throw last week was when he was terrible. The only stuff that worked was quick.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So just frame it maybe a little bit differently. It was when it snapped, ball out of his hands, that's when he had his success. And it's not like he had a ton because he had 140 of his yards like this. But 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, sacked 3 times, pressured 64% of the time.
Hello.
That's the part that to me is the concern because Milton Williams thus far has been a good signing for you guys. And I think that Rodgers is going to be on his back this weekend, and that's a problem.
If he's pressured, what did you say, 64% of the time?
Well, 64%
when he had more time. Patriots are 6th in pressure rate,
and
43% first in sacks, which is pretty good. Sack Geno got to Tua. Feels like we will be able to get to Aaron Rodgers and kill some drives. I think we'd be all right.
The other thing is this: if I'm in Pittsburgh as a fan, I'm saying, okay, Denver doesn't look like they're what people expected. I'm certainly not writing off the Chiefs, but Cincinnati now, Burrow is out. There's probably one. It feels like there could be one team from the AFC East.
It's open, bro.
The AFC West is. I mean, they all might be. AFC South, they all might be around 9 and 8 or something like that. So the path for Pittsburgh to get in the playoffs is wide open. And if you lose this game, that's going to be demoralizing.
Yes.
Cowboys favored by 1.5 in Chicago Sunday at 4 on Fox. Teams have lit up the Bears defense. Both NFC Offensive Players of the Week, J.J. McCarthy, who had 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and Jared Goff, who had 5 touchdowns. I don't even know if he played the fourth quarter. They both won Offensive Player of the Week because they got to go up against the Bears. So, what would another Cowboys offensive explosion prove to you?
All right, micro, macro. Okay. Micro, for the show specifically, we might all have to, privately, not publicly.
Privately.
Give Coach an apology or buy him lunch or something.
For what?
We could do that publicly.
Because we were all
doesn't have to be private.
We were all paying lip service to the idea that Brian Schottenheimer might have been a good hire because
Can I
what?
Me and Brew were never
we didn't
on that corner.
Yeah, we were
that
just
was
like,
a
hey,
Nick
we'll
Wright
see. Maybe
exclusive. Yeah, we don't know.
You have to buy lunch.
Don't drag us into your
we were
calamity.
never even talking about him.
All right, so I might have to apologize to Coach because I thought the hire made no sense, and I was tried to be kind because he's Coach's guy. I'm like, makes this a disaster. And through 2 games, and if we're talking about an offensive explosion, he seems innovative, and the offense seems more I know they scored a bunch of points with Mike McCarthy a couple years ago, but the offense does seem more dynamic without as many weapons as the Cowboys under McCarthy had. They had better offense. They had Hall of Fame offensive linemen. They had a better running game a couple of years ago. So I think that's on the micro. On the macro, I will have to start when I'm doing my, weekly. All right, what do I think at this moment the playoff field could be or would be is start to include the Cowboys because, and this to his credit was Danny's point before the year, if you have a great offense, you're in the mix, no matter what your defense looks like. And the Cowboys thus far are proving that exact point. The great offense, even with the defense that's been really bad, has kept them in the mix.
Look, I agree they would be in the playoff mix. And when you look at some of the teams that aren't quite as good as we expected, Washington might, have a tough year. Obviously, Minnesota and Chicago. They'll be in the mix, but I don't think they prove anything this weekend by beating Chicago. I don't care if they beat them 45-24. Like, they can't they're supposed to do that against these Bears. J.J. McCarthy looked all world in the fourth quarter, and then Russell Wilson, who hasn't looked good in
that was against Cowboys. It was Jared Goff.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Jared Goff looked fantastic, and he's obviously a good quarterback, but after the way he struggled in week 1.
Passer rating was 156.
Yeah, so if that goes out, it'll be a great win, don't get me wrong. But him going out there throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns, close to 300 yards, will be like, okay, great win. We are putting ourselves in the playoff mix. We got a great chance to start 4-2 or maybe better, but they got Green Bay next week. You got momentum going into that. But, Coach, I expect them, like seeing what Chicago's defenses look like, I expect this good offense to have its way with the Bears.
Yeah, so the numbers are pretty bleak for Chicago right now. 32nd in points, 30th in sacks, 28th in total yards, 27th in rushing, 22nd in passing defensively. And then when I went and looked and I said, okay, well, do they bring a lot of pressure? They're dead last in the amount of pressure they bring. So here's one thing Chicago would do: blitz more. They're
It's surprising a Dennis Allen defense has been this passive.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be much more. The numbers would be much more aggressive than they were. And if you're not if you're not having production, at some point you don't want to die by 1,000 paper cuts. You might as well go take some chances and try to create some negative plays. The thing that could be learned here is if Dallas's offense doesn't have an explosive game, I think that's problematic.
Yes.
And then the flip side of that is if Dallas's defense has another bad performance, that could also be a huge concern. So it's more about Dallas not performing those 2 areas as opposed to, going and performing really well.
Coach, you're big on defenses get better as the team learns and sort of melds with the defensive coordinator. So there's 2 new defensive coordinators. Which defense, in your mind, is going to improve at a faster rate?
Well, with Matt's defense, he brings a lot of pressure more on 3rd downs. That's where he'll bring the exotics. 1st and 2nd down tend to be more vanilla with a lot of effort, intensity, going to the ball. And a lot of guys really like that because they're not necessarily thinking about the adjustment. They're just going and they're playing. And then he brings the complicated stuff more on 3rd down. So that formula's worked for him well over his time in the league. Dennis Allen's done a lot of good things, but it may be a little bit like Zimmer last year, where it takes more time for them to get used to what he's trying to do than what Matt's trying to do in Dallas. Because what Matt's doing in Dallas right now is way easier than what they were doing last year.
Well, and listen, I want to get back to the Cowboys offense in a second, but you guys talking about Matt, in case the audience doesn't know, that's Matt Eberflus, fired head coach of the Chicago Bears. And that's another piece as far as concern for the Cowboys if their defense doesn't look better than it has looked up to this point this season. If anybody knows the strengths and the weaknesses of Caleb Williams, one would hope it'd be Matt Eberflus. You know what I mean? And the strengths and the weaknesses, well, the offensive line, not so much because they remade it in the offseason. But that part, that you would think is a potential edge for Dallas in that. But to the Cowboys offense, just quickly, we were saying, it might have been you, Coach, in the offseason about, hey, the Cowboys are trying to be their version of last year's Bengals. Last year's Bengals, we said were dangerous. Well, I didn't, but a lot of people said were dangerous, right? I understand Dak is not considered in the same regard as Joe Burrow. I get that. CeeDee Lamb, though, is great. George Pickens, up to this point, has been fine. You know what I mean? It at least is a threat on the outside. And the Cowboys' defense, I don't think we expect. It's not going to be worse than last year's Bengals defense. I guess up to this point it's been as bad. But that is a viable path to, being a tough out, so to speak.
But you don't think they'd be – I don't think they'd be like a Super Bowl contender.
But I didn't think – the only reason the Bengals were ever considered a Super Bowl contender was because 4 years ago once Joe Burrow beat Patrick Mahomes. That's the only reason last year's Bengals, it was like, well – and if they draw the Chiefs don't want them because that happened, 4 years ago. But you alluded to it. The Cowboys' schedule, I do think if they win this game, they're set up really well to be 4-2 because the Packers game, even if we just pencil that as a loss, Jets-Panthers, that's a hell of a first third of the season.
And then the next three aren't. Heck, the next four.
Yeah.
Dallas has been a little bit banged up in the secondary, but they've got guys in the secondary that can turn the ball over. Yeah. That was a big part of their success a few years ago. Yeah. If they can get back to that.
But can those guys cover for long enough without a pass rush, without Micah?
Well, I know Mike is Superman.
It sure seems like they
pretty darn good.
Coach, it sure seems like they miss it. Can you imagine if
they had Micah?
They should see if they could trade really Kenny Clark and a couple first-round picks for Micah Parsons.
Bills hosting the Dolphins. Line is at 12.5. Josh has cooked in this situation. 8-0 against the Dolphins at home. 7-0 on Thursday Night Football. Brew, are you giving Miami, one of your favorite teams, any chance tonight?
What are the Bills?
We don't have
a good team.
Oh, good team.
A good team. Then no. This is not to be mean. I like Tua. This is a fact.
Do you?
I do.
Tua's probably thinking, like me less.
Yeah.
He's 3-10 the last 2 years against teams with winning records.
3 wins.
All right.
Though.
He's 1-8 career against the Bills.
1 win though.
No.
No, I give the Dolphins less chance than I'm giving coaches Giants this weekend. Ooh. And the Giants, of course, they play the Chiefs. I give the Giants more of a chance of beating the Chiefs than I give Miami of beating Buffalo. So no way.
Yeah, I was going through the stats and trying to find something encouraging for Dolphins fans, and it was really hard. And then I was thinking, well, maybe road underdogs on a Thursday night. Like that, those numbers are better.
Did you call me?
But they're not. They're actually less. They're 26% as opposed to underdogs on Sunday or Monday. So that wasn't good. However, Dolphins fans,
you found something?
I found something. Last year against the Bills in Buffalo. Do you remember what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tua was great.
25 for 28, 89.3% completion, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 124.9 quarterback rating. They lost on a 61-yard field goal, but he played as well as you could possibly play. So there is hope. There is hope tonight for Miami.
All right, so
something.
I mean, I hope it's a good game.
It's as good as he played.
I think this game probably should be a lot like last week's Bills game, where it's 30-10 and it's not that close. You know what I mean? Where the Bills take the foot off their gas. However, I was perusing the Bills' injury report going into this game, and some concerning things jump out at you. Ed Oliver, out. Matt Milano, out. 2 guys in their secondary, questionable, and then a third player, a third starter who I'm forgetting, questionable. So that gave me a touch of pause. The fact that we do know that, as Coach pointed out, this offense, if it has time, can be prolific, that, you know what I mean, gave me a bit of pause. And the fact that Mike McDaniel knows this is an absolute kitchen sink moment for him. Like that if he wins this game, it honestly might get him the rest of the year. Yeah. Like it steadies the team, and if they lose this game, he could be fired. We could have on the show tomorrow breaking news. You know what I mean? Mike McDaniel fired. I always
early,
think
Coach?
it's
Like 3 is early, feels early.
Yeah, I don't remember
It feels
Stephen Ross firing people this early.
no, and listen, and I think it's bad process to ever bring a coach back and then anything happening during September and you fire the guy. But it feels like that seat's the hottest of any coach. And so I am not ruling out the possibility that on a short week with a very banged up Bills defense up front and a Bills secondary that I don't think is very good to begin with, that all of a sudden we're in a shootout. Like I think that is an on the board option here tonight. And so am I giving them any chance? I'm giving them a chance. Yes.
Nick took him.
No, I didn't take
It
I
sounded
tried.
a lot
No,
like you took him.
no, my buddy Nacho, who's playing poker in Korea, asked me my handicap on this game, so I dug in for him, and that's
Your
what I
buddy
came up
Nacho is playing poker in Korea.
with. Nacho Barbero, one of the greatest poker players in the world, he's playing in Korea, and he's got to
you're
get this bet
calling
in
him?
before he goes to bed.
What day is it? It's
No way to tell. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.